Emeritus of our Rosh Yeshiva, our President, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, our Chairman, Lance Hurt, and our Dean, Rabbi Menachem Penner. Ladies and gentlemen, the honor bestowed on me today is a culmination of years of a labor of love as a member of the RIETS board and as its chairman for a wonderful and fulfilling 7 years. When I see the list of those who received this honor before me, some truly great men, I can only quote Groucho Marx, who famously said, "I would not join any club that would have me for a member." I cannot begin without thanking and expressing my hakarat hatov to those I have worked with and whose friendship I value. A special thank you to our dynamic president, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, who has taken the reins of this great institution and raised it to new heights. To Rabbi Menachem Penner, who I have worked with since its inception as the dean of this great yeshiva. His creativity and devotion and undying love for our yeshiva are traits we would be wise to emulate. To our chairman, Lance Hurt, and our board members, whom I have always considered a band of brothers for their devotion and support of our yeshiva. To our President Emeritus, Richard Joel, his advice and the time he afforded me in so many office chats were so helpful and decisions so fruitful. To the years I spent in study, to my chavrusa, Rabbi Stanley Rosenberg, Olav Shalom, and to my dear friend, Rabbi Julius Berman, who has been by my side over 60 years and whose friendship has shaped much of my activities. To my children and grandchildren, and yes, great-grandchildren, for their love and for their beautiful Sefer Torah written this morning, and a special thank you to my grandson, Ariel, and certainly, of course, to my wife, Judy, who has been by my side through thick and thin. A very special thank you. And finally, to our Malamed, the greatest man I have ever known, the Rav, Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik Zatzal, a giant whose influence literally changed the arc of my life. To have been in his presence is something unmatched in my lifetime. In this very room, we listened to his magnificent shiurim and imbibed his Torah. It was a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence that cannot and will not be duplicated. My involvement with Yeshiva goes back many years and spans 4 generations. My father, Aaron Schreiber, Olav Shalom, born in 1908, attended then MTA High School. My brothers, Simeon Olav Shalom and David, both received smicha from RIETS, as well as my grandson, Yoni Fine, now headmaster of Browser Memorial Maimonides in Hollywood, Florida. My children, my grandchildren and cousins, my nieces and nephews attended YU and Stern and Einstein. My wife, Judy, received her MA from Wurzweiler. There's no doubt that my family is a YU family. We do not just talk the talk, but we have walked the walk, and our debt is so much the greater. Our yeshiva is one of a kind. There is no other like it in the world. Our hashkafa, to be a Talmid Chacham, to be appreciative of our world and to be involved in it, to see Hashem's hand in our state of Israel, to educate not only our sons, but our daughters as well, to serve in hundreds of communities as leaders, to have granted smicha to over 3,000 men during our 125 years of existence, to have the guidance and brilliance of Rabbeim, who are each a star in the Jewish firmament. As has been said over and over again, RIETS is the special jewel in the crown of Yeshiva University. It is the bedrock upon which rests so much of our institution. Its dedication to Torah at the highest level permeates the balance of the university. It is an oasis in a world that in so many areas has lost its mooring and its sense of values. I may be going on about a yeshiva, but sometimes too few words do not tell the story. As an example, years ago when communist Russia was strangling their populace, one man managed to escape, and when he arrived at Idlewild Airport, now JFK, reporters charged forward wanting to know, what is the situation in Russia? Asked one reporter, "Sir, in one word, can you tell us the situation in Russia? Answered the Russian, good. Wanting more information, the reporter asked, and in 2 words, said the Russian, no good. Amongst the many attributes to our yeshiva, RIETS, is the following fact. After years ago, Mr. Langon, founder of Home Depot and chairman of the NYU Medical School, announced to the students that tuition at NYU Med will be eliminated. A cry of joy went up amongst the students, so much debt eliminated. I am aware of another, much smaller school, which for 125 years has not charged tuition, Yeshiva Rabbeinu Yitzchak Elchanan. This is not achieved through smoke and mirrors. It is accomplished by our community and musmachim contributing so that each generation will produce the Talmidei Chachamim and leaders we need to carry on our Masorah and mission another generation. This is a message that each and every one present must take to heart. We need everyone's help to continue another 125 years. It may be in order to address the musmachim with advice and instructions from no less than the Rav Zatzal, rules that I have found to be important and critical for leaders and musmachim. Yashut, one of my favorite chapters in Tehillim, is Kapitel Lamed Gimel. Rananut Tzadikim B'Hashem, Ki Yashar Dvar Hashem, B'chol Masehu Be'emunah. Be a Yosher in your actions, in your beliefs, in your dealings with your congregants. The Rav exalted the virtue of humility and cautioned rabbis to commit to this virtue. I remember many, many years ago, during his drasha on Yom Kippur in then Moriah Synagogue, referring to Kavakoras Roe Edro, Mavir Tsono Tacha Shifto, he said, referring to rabbis, you may be the 10th who is Kodesh, but he said, remember, if not for the first 9, there would be no 10th. Attend their personal needs. Be a pastoral rabbi as well as a rabbinic leader. Grand statements do not satisfy particular needs. There is a cute story that illustrates this point quite well. Hyman Goldberg was in Israel, having just dedicated a forest in his name. Driving in his chauffeured limousine, he rushed through the streets of Mea Shearim when suddenly a cat ran out of a doorway and was hit by his car. An old woman came out of the house, poorly dressed, a tickle on her head, crying and screaming, my cat, my cat. Mr. Goldberg exited his car and said to the woman, ma'am, I am Hyman Goldberg. I am sorry, but I just left a forest dedication and I'm going to dedicate a medical school and a new building. What can I do for you? Whatever you need, please tell me I can do it. The old woman, with tears running down her cheeks, shrugged her shoulders, looked up at the billionaire who had just killed her cat and said, tell me, can you catch mice? The moral, remember their personal needs. The Rav stressed the value of social justice and the courage to stand up for and protect the values we have imbibed here. As he put it, quote, it is a personal commitment by an individual to live for, to be concerned with, and to be dedicated to the community. There must be a sense of meaning and purpose to our lives, the ones you are about to enter, the future of your lives. And I would suggest to you that you choose and live a purposeful life, so that when you hopefully reach a moment in your life and look back on it, you will have a fulfilling and satisfied feeling of having made a difference, of having contributed meaningful and lasting accomplishments to our people, to your families, and even to the world. What better man than the Rav Zatzal to tell us what leadership requires? Quote, if a leader will display humility, modesty, generosity, ahavat Yisrael, and commitment to ideals, if he will shun publicity, refrain from supervising and criticizing others, and instead engage in retrospection, self-examination, if we will pray with zeal and warmth and help others, then the people will follow him, for no one can resist the magnetic quality of the moral personality. Finally, I would like to end with a so-called call to arms, a motto, to rally our masmochim to our cause. It is based on a drasha the Rav gave on the parsha of Bahaloscha. It is one of the most marvelous and beautiful interpretations of Chumash that you will ever hear. It's on tape and I urge you to listen to it. Said the Rav, Moshe stands ready to enter Eretz Yisrael. He is just 3 days away, according to Rashi, from the Promised Land. The parsha is interrupted by 2 inverted nuns. It is not to be. But the Rav says that prior to this occurrence, Moshe calls out to Yisro, his father-in-law, and to the entire world, Nosim anachnu. We are going. We are on the move. Come, all, join us. I hear the Rav's voice clearly calling out, Nosim anachnu. It rings in my ears to this day. From our glorious history of thousands of years till today, Nosim anachnu. We move forward, generation by generation. For without our past, who are we? The growth of our yeshiva, year by year, reaching out to people, teaching them Torah, Nosim anachnu. And finally, to each of you in your future lives you're about to embark on, a life of purpose and accomplishment, Nosim anachnu. May you go forward, and may your years be filled with joy, happiness, and good health, and may Hashem bless you all. Thank you.